Hey guys, my name is Ethan, this is Carberra. Welcome to Series where I teach you how to build a Discord.py music bot for your server. Today we are talking about actually playing music in the channel. It's the exciting one, it's the one you've all been waiting for. But unfortunately this is going to be quite a long one as there's a lot we have to go through to actually play music. So the first thing we need to do before we even think about playing anything is we need to figure out the cue. Now there are two options for a cue. There is the first, which most music bots use, which is the one where you just put something in the queue and then it just gets deleted from the queue when it starts playing. Essentially, asyncio.queue is really good for that, but that's not the queue that we're going to be using. We are going to be using the second type of queue that you can use, which is one that emulates a standard music player on your phone or an MP3 player or something like that. So this allows you to go forward and back in the queue. It allows you to do all sorts of shuffling. It also allows for you to do repeats, which we're going to be talking about in a future episode. But this queue is a little bit more manual and a little bit more complex, though I think I've got a relatively decent implementation here. So we're going to be creating that first. However, the one thing we don't want to forget to do is to assign it to the player, so I'm going to do that now. Because knowing me, I'll definitely forget it. So we're just going to say self.queue equals queue, and then we're going to come up here, blow the no voice channel, and we're going to create our queue object. We don't actually need parentheses because it's not important from anything. Now I should say before we do this, there probably is a way to override the functionality of the asyncio.queue. I didn't look into that, but if you want to look into that in your own time, then feel free. I wanted to keep it somewhat basic and understandable, so I'm just going to do it like this. So first you have your init self. We're going to define the actual queue, which we're going to leave as quote unquote private. I know Python doesn't have private variables, just work with it, okay? So we're going to do this. The underscore denotes privates as much as uppercase denotes constants. They're not actually constants in the same way, they're not actually private, but it just denotes that you shouldn't really be accessing them unless you absolutely have to. With that being said, I am actually going to access that at some point, I think, maybe. I think I had implementations around that, but never mind, we'll leave that for now. Then we're going to set our current position, which is just a pointer to the index of the position we are in the queue, which we're going to set to 0. And then we're not going to deal with the repeat stuff at the moment. We're going to do that in a separate video. So after we set our default attributes, we can come down and we can make our first few functions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set a get first. We're not going to activate the caps lock. Get first track, and we're going to pass self into there. And we're going to say if not self.queue raise. We're gonna get. I had it a lot in the streams, and we're gonna get it again. We're gonna get a lot of the QUE ones, and we're gonna raise. Well, essentially, what this is checking is if the queue is empty, we raise a queue is empty, which we're gonna create in a second. Otherwise, return self.queue the 0th element. It's just the first track in the queue. This is only really useful for starting stuff, but it's easier to just use this than a next track implementation, which we're going to be using in a bit, but it's easier to just get the first track from there rather than try and work the next track around it. So I'm going to quickly create a queue is empty up here, and we're going to do commands.command error pious. After that, we then need to write a function or a method, sorry, to get the next track out of the queue. So we're just going to do get next track. Whoops, get track. There we go. Self, and we're going to do the same check to make sure that the queue is not empty. So if not serve the queue, raise queue is empty. After that, if the queue is empty, we're going to set the self.position to be 1 more than it was before. Then we're going to do another check to make sure that the position is not too high. So if the position is greater, then the len of self.queue and -1, I'm pretty sure it would be, that we can just return none. We can do some other error handling around it. We don't really need to do error handling in all instances. because if there's no songs left in the queue, then we just want the playback to stop, and returning none will accommodate that. We'll work out. Well, I'll show you how I am planning to do that. It will make sense in time, is what I'm trying to say. But otherwise, if there are songs left in the queue, then we can just do return self.queue. So I'm going to leave that at random, so you never know when I'm going to do it. We just return the next song in the queue. And that, I believe, is all we need. I do have other functionality we're going to implement later. I don't think we need that right now. We do. We need the add. We need to be able to add tracks to the queue. But I don't think we need any of the properties just yet. Though I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll just add stuff as we need it. So if you have an add, you could do like this. So essentially, if we pass multiple tracks to our add method, and it just extends the queue by the number of arguments. So this number of arguments gets transformed into a list on the other side, and then we can extend it. So for anyone that doesn't know what extend does, we can essentially just do L equals 1, 2, 3, and then we can do L.extend, and then we can pass another list 4, 5, 6, and if we print L, we now have a full list. So it's basically just a multiple append. It's essentially for iron list append to other list, in short. So that should, yeah, as I said, we can add stuff if we need it, but I don't think we're going to need it for this episode. So we can go down here. After we've done that, we can now actually write our play command. If I just bring my plan down to where that is, there we go. We're going to write that under the disconnect command. So we're going to do commands.command name equals play, and we don't really need an alias for that. Async def play command self ctx, and then we want a star, and then we want our query, which is what we're going to search for. So we're going to set it to be optional for now, and that decision will make sense in a few videos, but for now we're going to not utilize that. To give you a hint, we're leaving this optional to allow us to dynamically resume playback without having to make a resume command. Of course you can make a resume command if you want, but I'm going to show you a way that you don't have to do that. Again, emulating standard MP3 controls is what I was going for with this. So first we need to check is if we're connected to a channel. So if we're not, or it would be player, sorry, is connected. So if we're not connected to a channel, then we need to do that. So we can just do player.connect ctx. We need to pass the context through. We don't pass the channel through because we can just use the one that the user is already connected to. Next, we set if query is none, and we're just going to pass that for now because that's where our other functionality will come in, but that's coming in another episode. Let me just check what episode it's coming in. That's coming in episode number 8, where we're going to be going back to that. Otherwise, we can set our query equals query.strip chevrons. So for anyone that doesn't know, if you put these characters around a link, so say the link goes here, it will actually stop Discord from creating an embed for the link. So some people would want to do that, so we just need to strip those, otherwise it's going to confuse the program. Then we need to do a regular expression map. So I'm going to write this, and then we're going to go off and do our imports and stuff, because I realised I probably should have done that first, but never mind. If not, re.match URL regex, because that's making a return. Query. So if our query is a URL, if a query is not a URL, then we want to set our query to fyt search query. Anyone that was present in the streams is currently face palming because we spent such a long time trying to work out this huge complicated method where it worked out if it was a URL, and if it did this, it did that. We didn't need to do any of that. We just needed to not pass YT search, because we had a thing where it would search for links and it would be inaccurate results, and that's because we forced it to do a search when we didn't need to. So that was my bad. I do apologise for that. we're going to come up to the top and we're going to import RE, and I might as well demonstrate sort imports I searched before. Look, it put it up the top. It's amazing. I talked about that in the first episode, I think, or the second one, whatever it was. And then we need to define URL regex. Let me just copy and paste it because screw writing all this out. So we take this. Apparently there is a slightly simpler version than this. That's like about 10 characters long, but I don't know how accurate that is, and I know that's fully accurate, so we're using the accurate one. If you want to find that, then just copy paste it in the repo. The repo's in the description. I get asked that so many times, and it's always in the description. So you can just find the commands there should you want them, or find any of the code really. Then we're going to come back down to our play command, and we are going to add a line down here saying player.add tracks, ctx, and then await self dot, I think it's wavelink.get tracks, yeah. Wavelink.get tracks query. So this await self.wavelink.get tracks will connect to whatever searching algorithm it uses, and it will basically just find the song we need, and it will return. I'm pretty sure it just returns a bytes object back. Well, it returns a list of tracks. But I think I don't know how the backend works. I'm pretty sure it just gets a bytes and then it works it out from there. We need to create this function in the player class so we can teleport up to player. I think that'll work. Never mind, we can't do that. It only works sometimes. And then we come down here and then we create our async def add tracks function here. And then we do self. I can't remember what else it takes. So let me quickly scroll up. This is why I have the plan so I don't mess anything up. CTX, and then it takes tracks. It just takes it as a straight list because it's easier. So if there aren't any tracks, then we can raise no tracks found, and we need to create that error as well. So we can't fit. There's a lot of teleporting around. Well, not teleporting, but there's a lot of scrolling around with this, I find. So commands. Whoopsie daisies. Commands. Oh my god. Dot command error. Past that, we come back down to where we were. Cool. So if there are tracks, then we need to check what it is. So it is possible to present a playlist link as well, in which case wavelink actually gets a different object. So we need to check for that. So we need to do if is instance tracks, and then we need to check if it's a wavelink dot track playlist object, and if it is, then we can do self.queue.add and then all of tracks.tracks. The reason we put this star here is because in the queue we've done this here, so we've done our arguments here as a star, so it's passing through as each individual argument, and doing like this makes it easier just if you have a single track to go through without having to create a list for it first and do all that. So it essentially only creates a list if it needs to. Then, if it's not a track playlist and it's just a track, we need to check if the number of tracks is just one. So if it is, then we just do, we just do a queue.add and then do tracks 0. So we just take the 0th element of the list. And then we can do a ctx.send. Oh, I just I'll do a ctx.send in here. Whatever, it's fine. I don't care. Added, and then we just simply put added tracks 0.title to the queue. So I'm not going to bother with embeds on this sort of stuff. So you can create it. You can make an embed out of this if you want. I'm not going to bother. Otherwise, we need to pass that because that is the next video. We're going to be dealing with that. But essentially, if you pass in a link, it should only return a list of 1. So it should just add it to the queue and then play it. So we need to add a little bit of extra functionality now. Just saying if not self.isPlaying, await self.start playback, which we need to define, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we need to define that. However, it's actually not a particularly difficult function to write. So we do async def start playback, and then we need just self, and then we do await self.play self.queue.get first track. To be honest, you could probably have it as a property, but I don't know if this error would cause problems. Actually, probably not. You know what, I'm going to experiment with that. We might be able to get away with making this a property. If so, that'll probably be a bit cleaner. Property, and then, yeah, that's all the same actually. It's not self.queue. That should work. So we could just do self.queue.first track, or we could probably make that first later. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that even works first. So we now have all the functionality we need to start playing music. However, we need to implement functionality for when the music stops. And we don't need to do an awful lot for this. So we can just come down here into our music cog, and we can do another wavelength listener. This one we're going to be doing slightly differently. So wavelength mixin, there we go, dot listener. And we're going to copy paste that and do that 3 times. And that is because we need to define the same function for 3 different events. So if the track gets stuck, oops, if the track ends on its own, or if there's any sort of problem with it, then we need to do the player is stopped. So we need to do on player stop, and then we take a payload. And then inside that payload we have our player, so we can just do for now await payload dot player dot advance. Again, we're going to be adding more functionality into that, but that's not going to be until episode 10. So that's even further away. But we're going to be adding some stuff when we do our repeats. And then we need an advance, so we can just go in here underneath start playback. We can just have advance self, and then we can do a try if track equals self.queue.get next track. We could probably just about get away with making that a property as well, but I think that's probably pushing it, so I'm going to leave that as a method. You can try and make it a property if you want. If you do encounter success, let me know in the comments. We could do await self.play track. So this will just get the next track. It will make sure there is actually a track to play, and if there is, it will do it. Otherwise, in theory, this exception should never hit, but I actually don't know. So I'm just gonna I just got to double check to say. Well, actually, if the queue is empty, then yeah, we will hit a bit of a problem. Because I think it will actually just completely die. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it like that because it works. So that should, quote unquote, should be enough. So I'm going to get the bot to launch. Oopsie daisies. And see if we encounter any errors on boot up. We shouldn't do. Okay, so the bot is ready. I am going to prepare some songs to play, and I'll be back in a second once I've done that. Okay, so I'm back. When I said songs, I meant song. Because we probably only need 1 in theory. Actually, we probably should test 2, but I can get another song while we're waiting. So we can hit our play. If we just do it, well, it connects to the channel as you can see, but it doesn't do anything. We're just going to quickly disconnect it from the channel to show that we can get it to flow all in. So we're just going to copy our link here, and I'm actually going to put the things on the end. And we should. There we go. So it added bad snacks, take it easy to the queue. This is actually, you may recognise this song. This is one I use on kind of talkie songs. I should also specify that all the songs I'm going to be using to demonstrate functionality in our music series bot are all songs from the YouTube audio library, because they have some right bangers on there. I was not expecting it, but man, they have some bangers. Yeah, as you can hear, the music is playing. It works. It actually works. So when the song ends, it will then play the next one, which I'm going to quickly show off after I've done this explanation. If there are no more songs left, the playback should just stop. So I'm going to get another song, quickly add it to the queue, and then I will come back when this song is about to end so we can demonstrate that. I should also say, before we get into that if you use the play command and put in another track, it will actually queue it. It won't just play it straight away, it will just queue it. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the track now. It should, in a few seconds, play the next song I have queued. Went in a bit early, I realised, but there we go. That took a while. Apparently that song just had quite a long outro. But yeah, it just plays the next one in the queue, straight up. So I'm going to wait until this song finishes now and just show you that when the song's finished it just stops the playback. And after that, that'll be the end of the video. I know it's been quite a long and complicated one, but there is a lot. But there was a lot to cover. There was a lot to go through, and I'm honestly surprised we did it inside half an hour. I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting it to be more than half an hour, this one. I'm glad it's not. Yeah, while we're listening to this awesome music, I will probably explain next video. Next video we're going to be doing a search for this, so we currently don't have the ability to search. However, this, if I can find it here, where is it? This else clause will be used to run a search, so we'll be able to search YouTube for the particular song we want, and we'll do like an embed and a little selection interface. It'll just be a simple little thing, but you can upgrade that as you want. But yeah, I'll just cut to this song ending and then we'll end the video there. Okay, I think it's about to end. There we go, and we just cut. Okay, so yeah, it works as intended. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can join the Discord server using the link in the description. While you're in the description, I'd recommend you look at the other links I have in there as well. They're all my social medias and different connections and stuff. So if you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook, for example, you can do so down there. But yeah, that's going to bring me to the end of the video. If you liked it, then say hello down below. If you really liked it, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And if you really liked it, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Of course, you don't have to, but it's a really cool thing of you to do. With that in mind, I'd like to thank my super patrons Darky and Jackster. And I will see you next time, where we do what I was talking about before, about playing from a search term. So I'll see you for that.